While I was in Bangladesh, I taught in many different ways. The first way is that I was a crew leader or an advisor to a group of students from the United States, from all parts of the United States, and I helped prepare these students for the trip. I watched out for them while we were there, and now I'm helping them complete their social action projects now that we are back. Secondly, I got to participate in a series of professional development conversations with educators while we were there. This is a group of educators in this picture from an English medium school in the slum. It's called Jago, and it's free schooling for slum children to prepare them for professional careers. And so we got to meet with new teachers and to share some of our expertise with them. This was one of my favorite moments as a teacher in Bangladesh. Our 30 American students met up with a group of 30 madrasa students. A madrasa, if you haven't heard of the term, is a religious school, and the religion is Islam. The students are Muslim. And this was a lesson that I taught with another American educator on the trip, and we taught students how to do a blind contour portrait. And it was great because I think when we come into contact with someone who looks very different than we look, we want to stare, but we are not allowed to stare. It's not appropriate socially. So drawing their portrait and being required to stare at someone else helps to break the ice and make people more comfortable to have more meaningful interactions from then on. So I really remember that day fondly. And then finally, this is me and the other educators doing the diarrhea dance, the diarrhea song. It's traveler's diarrhea was a major factor on our trip, and the American students are used to teachers, I think, being familiar and funny and goofy, but the 30 Bangladeshi students, I think, got a big kick out of how interactive we were and how much of our personalities we showed. So those are some of the ways that I taught. I also learned in a variety of ways. The first way I really learned was to see firsthand what we are doing to our environment. These are smokestacks that surround Dhaka, and they are ovens that cook bricks that are being used to build the city up. And in the United States, we're really good at hiding our pollution. We put it in places where we can't see it, or we outsource our pollution to other countries that are making the goods that we then buy. But here we were able to see firsthand the effects of human consumption and development on our earth, and it was really pretty emotional to see and quite devastating. I also learned a lot from the security guard on our trip. The man in this picture sitting on the bed is Sajahan, and this is his family, and they invited me over for dinner one day at their house, and I learned a lot just from this one day interaction with him and his family about the similarities in many ways between families across the globe. This is an artist named Shakur who my host introduced me to. I'm an artist, and so he's now kind of a mentor to me, and he's been helping me come up with ideas on how to sell my own art and get my own art out there into the gallery and museum world to sell. And finally, I learned some valuable lessons about education. This is a schoolyard outside of the slum school, and these are students playing in the schoolyard, but it was really clear how important education is to this country. The founder of Jago was the founder of the school was telling us that he doesn't think that starvation of hunger in Bangladesh is a big deal, but that starvation of the mind and the lack of accessible education and education beyond elementary school education is one of the major issues that the country is dealing with. So I think I was reminded about how important education is. I hope to, as a teacher, apply what I learned there to my own classroom in the following ways. First of all, to use the community around my school as clients. I teach a design class, and I frequently use the idea of the design process and having an audience in mind. And as if we are designers, we need to be designing something for a client, but usually other students are the clients, and I think it could be powerful to use people in our community as an authentic audience. I also learned a lot about oral histories, and another educator on the trip with us is quite involved with a group called Amplifying Unheard Voices. And I think that students really became engaged on our trip when we were talking to people who don't normally get talked to about these issues, and can be a great medium for getting into some deeper learning. Also, now that we are back, the students are developing action projects, social action projects, to take an action in their community to share with people what they've learned or to make a change. And I think that each student is developing their own project, and this idea of inquiry and the power of it and how much it motivates students, even to take on risks and to accomplish tasks that they may not think that they can do. And then I'd like to engage the farmers market in my community through my classroom, and perhaps design billboards and designs for them in order to have a higher percentage of participation at the local farmers market. And then finally, if you've heard of the 21st century leadership skills, I really saw them in action, and they're so important. And with all of the focus we put on these standardized tests these days, when really what employers want to see is if students can think critically and collaborate productively and think creatively and communicate powerfully in ways that will benefit the country and benefit the company and benefit the person in their own individual lives. And it's really important to give students a chance to learn and then use those in schools.